Hey everyone, Mike here again, and it's my pleasure to provide an introduction for this special bonus edition of the Pub Trivia Experience, where I get to talk a little more about a music project called the Dadicorns. If you listened to the trivia episode we were on earlier this week, you know this already, so feel free to skip ahead. But the Dadicorns were formerly called the Dadbods before we had to rebrand to avoid any trademark issues. We recorded this interview with Chris before the name change, but we still wanted to share it with everyone. So, as with the trivia episode, there's a rather obvious and ridiculous edit over every mention of the old band name. We had a great time talking about our process writing and recording our debut EP, Sanity is Waning, and we hope you find it interesting. Once again, a special shout out to the other members of the PTE network for giving us this platform, and especially for my good buddy Chris for putting up with us. I hope you all enjoy the interview, and be sure to check out our music.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pub Trivia Experience bonus edition. My name is Chris and I have the pleasure of hosting a little four-way kind of trivia, but not really trivia. We're here with
the Dadicorns.
Woo! Now, I did not tell them this, but we are going to start with a little bit of trivia. So if you listen to our episode on Monday, you will know that there were 4 questions that we went through. I've got 2 more of those.
Oh,
no.
We're going to start with these real quick.
Love it.
All right. So I'll read the question. Y'all come up with your answers. Lock in when you're ready. We'll get our trivia out of the way first. Then we'll start talking about some epic music. Question number 1. So for those that haven't listened to it, this is how it works. Every question will have 2 parts. The first will be a clue to a word, and the second will be a clue to a word that sounds like the word you're looking for. So, for example, the 33rd president of the United States sounds like a factual male. That would be a true man, Truman. Question number 1, first one to lock in, we'll let you go with it. So you're not each going to get the answers, just lock in, then we're going to go into the beers. So here we go. The Confederate general who led the attack on Fort Sumter, thus starting the Civil War, sounds like comedian Burnham giving someone best wishes.
Locked in.
Locked in.
Damn it.
Jeff.
That would be Beauregard.
Yep.
Beauregard is correct.
Yep.
God help you with this one. You all music fans, you might have this. The last one, the former Fifth Harmony group member whose first hit single was named after the city she was born, sounds like a desert animal singing the note that comes before T.
Locked in.
Go ahead.
It's Camila Cabello. I don't know what the hell you mean by the second part, though.
La, Camilla, Camel,
Camilla.
La Tido.
La Tito. No. No.
Yeah, and I was... yeah, I figured Camila Cabello, but yeah, I had no idea where he was going with.
I
the
know
second
Camila
part,
Cabello
and I
because
still don't.
in that song she sang about my home neighborhood, East Atlanta.
Yeah.
I think she kind of dissed it,
Cam-
but still she sang about my
Camel
neighborhood.
Law. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
right?
Camel
That's pretty
Law,
handy.
Camilla.
Yeah, Camel La. Sounds like. Didn't say it's exact. It sounds like. So
Yeah.
Camel La, Camilla.
Yeah.
All right, well, there you go. Ben did not really participate in the last episode. It already has more correct answers than I think.
Then me.
Well, no, actually, y'all did pretty damn well that last episode. All right.
It was fun.
I like my score of 1.
Let's go ahead. Let's meet our not our contestants. Let's meet our panelists here today, the band members. Let's start off Huntsville, Alabama. Mike Mott, my friend, how you doing? What are you drinking?
Chris, I'm doing great. I'm literally staring at the screen with 4 of my favorite people hanging out, having a good time, drinking some beers. This one is a pumpkin beer. Because quite frankly, it's a treat to be with you guys. So I brought some pumpkin pie treat here with me. This is from Prairie Artisan Ales, sour ale with pumpkin pie spice blend. I am a basic bitch after all. And toasted marshmallow flavor. It is that season. It is the fall. I think I had this on the podcast before. It's a delicious beer. I enjoy it. I'm not usually a huge sour fan, and I wasn't sure how it would go with the pumpkin pie spice, but it actually works really well.
Good to know.
There we go. Let's head it up to Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm still mad about NC State, Jeff. How you doing? What are you drinking?
I'm fine. I'm half thematic today because I ran out of Saint Germain. So those of you who are listening to the last episode know that I have one purple drink and one yellow drink as a shout out to a track that we have on our album. We'll talk about it in a minute, but I only have the purple drink right now. It's just the End of Days Luna Bloom Butterfly Sea Flower Gin.
In the Glencairn glass, too.
Purple gin, purple gin.
What I could only assume there was Jeff doing his own tribute to Chumbawamba. Let's head out to Seattle, Washington. Ashok, my friend. Same to you. How you doing? What you drinking?
I'm doing really good. I'm actually done drinking because I finished my drink during the trivia episode that's going to air earlier in the week. So I am drink free at the moment, but I'll be going down and drinking something else when I get down there. I'm not sure what yet.
All right. And last but not least, this town made famous by the Childish Gambino from Atlanta, Georgia. Ben Stark, my friend. How are you doing, sir? And what are you drinking?
Well, I am doing spectacular. I've been wanting to talk about
The Dadicorns
since time began. I am in Atlanta and I am drinking some lovely Coca-Cola. Also, there is Delta Airlines and Ted Turner in our city, and I'm willing to talk at length about all of them.
Also Outcast, I assume.
Outcast, India Ari, John Mayer. John Mayer is currently 85ing. I'm assuming on 85.
At some point, Ted Turner owned a giant compound south of Tallahassee.
I love how you threw India Ari in there. Like
the Braves literally clinched today, and you didn't even mention that.
Wait, there's a baseball team?
They're out in Cobb County. He wouldn't know.
You should know your city's subsidizing how much of that stadium, for God's sake.
Good point.
Yeah, it's in Cobb County. It's outside the city now. They're dead to me.
OTP.
Fair. Yeah, you know
me.
If I'm dealing with this, I need a drink.
Yes, you do. What you,
Please do,
Chris?
sir.
How you doing? And what you drinking?
I'm doing all right, Mike. It's been a little bit of a day. Got some news today, work related, that was just less than ideal, so it's caused some stress, but I'm alive, I'm here, and I still have a job, so I'm not going to sit here and complain about it. It's just know that the next 3 months will be very, very, very busy for me. But I went ahead, I popped myself. I'm not an IPA guy, but I won this at a charity auction. It's my last one of the group. This is from the Tampa Bay Brewing Company. It is their Coral Head India Pale Ale, and I love it just because that freaking beer can is awesome.
Oh, that's nice.
That is nice.
I want that for my book.
It is absolutely dope. So even if you just Google Tampa Bay Brewing Company Coral Head, you'll be in a good spot. Also, if you go to the Tampa Bay Brewing Company, there's 2 locations in Tampa. There's one in Oldsmar. There's one in Tampa over in Central Ybor. Get the Bomb Burger.
Yes. Seconded.
It is a hamburger baked completely inside of pizza dough.
Yeah, it's basically a hamburger calzone, but it's a hamburger.
Sweet God, honey, we got to go to Tampa now.
You let me know. I'll meet you there, and I'll buy the first round. Well, let's start with the genesis of this. Y'all, all 4 of you are here. Take me back, take me back to the foundation of
The Dadicorns.
Take me back to that. I'm assuming rainy day in Nashville.
So, well, before we get there, I think we should just say this is almost 20 years in the making, because we've had various musical projects over the years and never one with all of us involved, even though it's always been something we've discussed. It's just part of the...
No, that's not true. We had Oreo Euthanasia.
We did have Oreo Euthanasia. That's a fair
true.
point.
Yeah, we all had pieces of that.
Yeah.
Yes, that was a group project.
That is true.
But we did not have Ben involved because he wasn't part of that initially.
Ashok, do you want to explain Oreo Euthanasia? Because it's just
let's start with Oreo
I
Euthanasia.
think it's better if you don't. I just want to leave that dangling in the ether for a while.
So really briefly, this was back when we were all in college, and I went down to visit Nashville, visit the guys down there, and we started mucking around with guitars at 11:30 at night. Of course, we were drinking. And we decided to write a song based on words we could spell with chords. So the first song we wrote for this project was called the Cabbage Song. And of course, the chord progression spelled out cabbage. We wrote a whole song around it. And it evolved from there
I'm a
because there's only
rabbit.
so many words. Yes, you're a rabbit. But there are only so many words you can create with, the letters A through G.
So we started
started
inventing chords.
Yep. So we created R chords and S chords and other letters and created songs like Cuba, in parentheses, Fidel. And we
The
created,
BLT.
Art
The BLT.
Deco. We never created an O
We
chord.
never
but...
came up with an O chord.
So
So
we
Oh,
just
no, we
yelled-
had the
I
O
just
chord. It was
ended up
us going,
saying,
ow! And every line of that song ended with us going, ow!
ow.
And the reason the band name came about is because Jeff, bless his heart, could not understand what POD was saying in their... What was the song called?
Youth of the Nation.
Youth of the Nation.
Yeah. Because Youth of the Nation, for some reason, instead of saying we are, or Jeff kept hearing Oreo Euthanasia for Youth of the Nation. And we decided we had to go with that as the band name because it was too ridiculous for this project.
I'd also like to call out Ashok here for being the only non-Southerner on the pod right now, but correctly using the condescending bless his heart. That's impressive and
be fair,
a shout out.
I did live in Northern Virginia, which is not really the South, but I did live in
really
Richmond too.
It's true.
I
Yeah.
spent a
That's true.
lot of time amongst the natives of Richmond, and I got told "bless my heart" a lot as a low med student, so I
Yeah.
totally understand. But yes, I have learned the
Absolutely.
appropriate way for "bless his heart."
So besides
Right.
Oreo Euthanasia,
Right.
there
right.
was
So
also
there were a great many, but yeah. So Ashok had wandering philosophies. Jeff and I were part of Unexpectedly Sober for a while. There's been a lot of music projects over the years. It is really the bottom line, but really just life and geography had really intervened from allowing us to really just form together and have a music project together. Now, for just a little bit of background, Ashok, Jeff, and I all went to high school together. And then Jeff and I went on to the same college, and that's where we met Ben. But Ashok was very much involved with that because he came down to Nashville a lot, and we all had a very tremendous rapport together.
Mhm.
And yada yada yada. To make a long story short and get to the crux of the matter, I guess it was probably almost a little over 2 years ago at this point, and really it really was Ashok's idea, I think, and it
Mhm.
just kind of became like, we all had kids roughly the same age. And we were like, let's all get together as an outlet for, all of that and write music about those experiences.
So I'm going to jump back just a touch from there. It was about 2 years ago. You're right. So this came about because I was actually talking to my wife, and I was lamenting how
right.
I miss hanging out with the guys here, and I was like, I need some way to connect because we're really far away in Seattle. The three of you are much closer in the South, so you get a little more opportunity to go spend time with each other and see each other. And my wife made the suggestion, well, you all have kids and you all love music. Why not do something around that? And the idea percolated in my head for a couple of days, and then I threw a message out to the guys, and I said, hey, what do you think about doing this? And Jeff and Mike kind of jumped in, both feet in. We brought Ben on too, and everyone jumped in, and the group was formed, and then we just started working on music. And I would say probably for the first time in a very long time for all of us, the musical creative energy just started flowing, and songs were just coming out pretty quickly. And I think within a month or two of starting this, we'd already had a half dozen tracks kind of panned out or thought about, or even some of them even completely written.
Yeah.
But it was for the first time in a long time, at least for me, first time in a long time, I was actually able to write music and not really think too much about it or think too hard on it. It just came.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the spider webs that kind of tie all this together is kind of weird and fascinating. The connective tissue there is long. Like there's a long history here of relationships that have kind of stemmed together. What I love is the fact that you've come together now and put together this EP, 6 songs, all of them freaking bangers. They're good songs.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
I want to just take a second. Let's go through them one by one, because you kind of you alternated singing duties, stuff like that. But let's kind of start at the beginning. So I don't pay for Spotify. I'm using YouTube Music, but they do have it on there. Song number 1 is The Noodle. So let's start there. How did this song come apart? How did it come apart? There you go. It didn't come apart. How did this song come together? And talk me through the inspiration in it.
All right, yeah, I'm starting this one off, aren't I?
Yep.
So this was first off, Chris mentioned that he is, spending a couple of hours with us this evening and having to drink constantly to get himself through it. So shout out to Dick Hodgen at Osceola Studios in Raleigh,
Amen.
North Carolina,
Heck yeah.
for putting up with us for 2 entire days and then several hours of meeting afterwards to mix and master and so forth. Great guy, lots of fun to work with, lots of fun to record with. And guy who has recorded bands like Hootie and the Blowfish in the past, coming and working with us and enjoying it is and putting the amount of effort that he put into this record is really impressive to me. So shout out to Dick Hodgen here.
Here.
Great guy. Anyway, The Noodle. The genesis of that one was, just like the first verse of it, is a trip to Pullen Park that Dorothy and I had at one point. She was fairly little, and she's toddling around. She loves this carousel they have at Pullen Park here. It's only about 2 miles away, so I hook up the bike trailer and we usually bike down there. I don't like to drive places that are less than 2-3 miles away, so we ride down there. It's kind of a little misty spring day, and we have lunch, and it's time to get back home. And Dorothy, my now 5-year-old, then like 2 or 3-year-old, is just kind of like not having it. And she's just kind of flopping on the ground and crying, and people are looking at us because mostly looking at us with sympathy, because Pullen Park is a place with a lot of kids, and every parent has gone through this. Right?
Yep.
Every parent has had that time where they can't get their kid to do something that they really need to be doing at that point in time, and just kind of going boneless and turning into a noodle. And so I just kind of percolated in my brain for a while, and so I wrote the chorus, "You became the noodle," and threw that first verse together. And then the guys obviously have had those experiences themselves and wrote a couple of verses based on those same experiences. So
I think the other thing that's really cool about The Noodle, and one of the reasons why I really like it as our first track, is it showcased each of us individually.
Yep.
We really wanted to have each of us kind of showcase our vocals and then tie it all together at the end, where we all experience our child at one point being the noodle.
Right.
And I really like that about this track.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite things too. We built in each voice, and by the time that third chorus kicks in, we're all just singing about all of our kids becoming the noodle at one point in time, because they're just completely unmanageable and just thrashing around and uncontrollable.
Yeah, I love the climax that it built up to at the end, though. Like waking up at 4, like that's like it never ends being a dad. Sort
Right.
of.
Exactly. And that was one of the fun things that we did. It's a little bit of a subtlety at the end of that track, but Jeff came up with that in the studio. He goes, the way that it needs to be in terms of the measures that we each come in reflect the time zones that we live in. So he's first because he's on the East Coast, and then it's me because I'm on the Central, and then there's a gap because none of us are in Mountain, and then Ashok comes in at the end because he's Pacific.
Yep.
It's a funny little thing. But yeah, that song was actually really, it posed an interesting challenge because we were recording to click tracks, and we had to slow it down and then kick back into the rhythm of the rest of the song at the very end. So that was kind of a fun one to record. I thought there was a lot of interesting things that we learned from that.
Yeah, poor Dick damn near had an aneurysm.
Yep.
It's a great song. As someone who has a toddler who has decided to be bat crap crazy recently, including trying to intentionally throw herself down the stairs, thinking it would be fun.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Yes, the noodle definitely rings a bell. Let's move right along here though. So clean up.
We've all
It
been
needs
there.
no introduction, but take us away.
Yeah, cleanup is definitely like the noodles are fun. It's a bouncy opening track, and then of course it's like we want to kick it up a notch, turn up the volume a little bit. This is our Green Day punk song. Ashok, I believe that was kind of the vibe you were going for. You came to us with the chorus. That's what we
Right.
started with, the chorus, and then this was a fun little effort because Jeff kind of started working on some verses, and then I came in with the pre-chorus, and we just kind of all put it together. Um, my favorite thing about this song is that when we kind of recorded some demos, the chorus kind of sounded like the first chorus of the song all the way through. And then in the recording studio, I'm still amazed that I kept my composure on the vocals, because all of a sudden Jeff and Ashok must have like had a little conspiratorial collaboration beforehand, because all of a sudden they start singing the part about your shit is on the floor, and I was like, don't laugh, keep singing, that's hilarious.
Yeah, Ashok looks at me and just kind of explains like, yeah, we should just get louder at
Yep.
the end.
That was it. The other thing I love about this song is I came up with the chorus, and it truly was my homage to Green Day, because I'm a sucker for Green Day, particularly their albums in the 90s. But I got the chorus, I wrote it, I shared it with the guys, and I was like, I'm stuck. I could not for the life of me think of verses. I had the music for the verse. I had kind of a rough idea of what it would sound like. And we sat down in like a video meeting and just was like, I don't know where to go with this. And within 20 minutes, we had a whole song written, just because the ideas that came out and the things that we experienced as parents of crap being everywhere, from Play-Doh to dolls to whatever.
Yeah, I think Dorothy had left out her Play-Doh at one point the night before, and I was like, it's like a tortilla.
Yep.
Yeah, you did that, and I said, like, hey, look, there's a doll in the corner, and that became part of the song. It was just like we looked out at our house and we're like, hey, this is this shit that we have all over our floors, and it just worked. And then I will say the one thing that I'm also very proud of is the ad lib at the end of the song.
Oh yes,
that was completely ad libbed. Yep, that we hadn't planned it out, but at the end of the recording, I think on a whim, I just said it, and once it was done, we were all just like, that needs to be in there, and it stayed. So listen to the track, get to the ending, and you'll see that little ad-lib bit of me saying bye-bye.
The other little part that I like was we changed it from "you're gonna make me pull my hair out." I figured if I'm the one singing it, I have to be like, you're gonna make me pull what's left of my hair out, because there's not much left anyway. So I did kind of change that like the day before we went into recording. I was like, I'm gonna sing this instead.
That
Didn't you
makes
actually
it
just
full.
do it? You kind of ad-libbed it in the studio, because I don't think Jeff and I knew about it until you did, and they were like, oh, yes.
Okay, maybe I forgot. I came up with it before we went into the recording studio. I just might have forgotten to tell you guys about it. Sorry, but anyway.
Nope, it worked great.
Man.
It was perfect. It was perfect.
Well, we're gonna move on to the next song here real quick. Apropos that it's the third song, but "The Sky and the Rose."
That's actually the 6th track.
Not on YouTube Music, sir.
Oh,
YouTube Music is wrong.
No.
Yeah, YouTube
Yeah,
Music's
YouTube
got it
music
wrong.
is wrong. Third song's Purple and Yellow.
Third song's Purple and Yellow. Yeah.
So let's talk about Purple and Yellow.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Ben has decided. Okay, so Purple and Yellow. So I feel like the other 5 songs on this EP speak to something universal about the parenting experience. Purple and Yellow is a lot more specific in a lot of ways. We mentioned we all have kids around the same age. I have a child from a previous marriage who is now 15. About 2 days before their B'nai Mitzvah, when they were 13, they decided to come out to me as non-binary. And I have been a supporter of the LGBTQ community for most of my adult life. Have been the kind of person who goes around and drags his then 4-year-old child to knock on doors to vote against the gay marriage amendment in North Carolina. get on phone banks against HB2 when that came out here. North Carolina's kind of a fraught place to be gender non-conforming, and it was kind of, I mean, it wasn't a surprise because you're a parent, you can tell, right?
Right.
And but it was them adopting this identity that didn't exist when we were younger and in teenage years. There weren't non-binary kids. Like there've been non-binary people or people who just not adopted a male or female identity throughout history, right? Like it's been a constant. You can find them in every culture and every point in history, but it wasn't a specific thing, like a specific category when we were younger. So it's just kind of like, you're adopting this thing and I know nothing about it, and I'm realizing that I don't understand your inner life at all, but I still am bound as a parent to be supportive and to encourage you and to affirm your identity and to be the loving and supportive father that you deserve. And so when we were going through this whole thing, you should write songs about your experiences as a parent. And most of the songs were kind of these like fun, bouncy, goofy songs. And so I came to the guys with like, I'm not really sure if this is appropriate, but I just kind of wrote a pouring my heart out over this particular thing song. Here it is. And this was something that I came up with. The chorus, the first chorus was the first thing that came to my mind. We're so used to thinking in pink and blue. Purple and yellow are beautiful too. Purple and yellow being the colors on the non-binary flag, for those of you familiar with that sort of thing. And the rest of it came within like the next 15 minutes or so. And so after some workshopping or so, I brought it to the guys and I was like, I'm not sure if it fits. Played it for them, and they were like, oh, that's actually, we should include this. This is worthwhile. So
I will say, Jeff, when we were working on these fun, goofy songs, and you played that song for us, and I remember we listened to it, and there was a good 30 seconds of just silence because we were all just processing the power of this song. And honestly, when we heard it the first time, my first thought was, this song is so powerful and it's so important. We have to share this. It's
Absolutely.
such a powerful moment. And for a lot of parents, these moments are so isolating, or people think that they're isolated because no one else is going through it. And for me, having a song like this allowed us to kind of show to the world, parents, you're not alone. A lot of us go through this, or we know people who are going through this. We have support, reach out, we're here. But just being able to talk about that vulnerable moment was just such a powerful piece that I can't imagine this record not having that on there, just because of this song. It's such a powerful and cathartic moment to hear that song.
Absolutely. And of the many things I love about the song, to me it really changed the entire project when you brought it, because it was, at the time we were kind of like, oh, we're going to write silly songs, and but like, parenting can be a lot of fun, but there, you also have to deal with a lot of stuff that isn't always fun, or is things come at you out of left field, and there's a whole lot of emotions that go on with the whole thing. And really, I think it expanded all of our approach. It expanded my approach too, because like, I know that the first couple songs I brought to the project were all kind of silly, and I was like, okay, now I can start expanding into other things too. It was, and to this day, like the song just, I think it's so well written, because obviously I know the perspective that you're coming from, but I remember listening to it and at one point and trying to look at it from the lens of, I could almost view it as somebody who was actually on the opposite end of the political spectrum, and then suddenly it comes home, because you wrote it so not vaguely necessarily, but
It's such an
you wrote it
open-ended
from
song.
a universal perspective of it doesn't really matter which side you're coming from. When things come home, you realize you don't know shit. And I think
Yep.
that's such a great sentiment.
Mhm.
And that at the end of the day, you don't know what's going on inside their head. That it's a beautiful song. I love it. It's gotten a lot of positive feedback from people that I know that have heard it, and it's one of those songs I think also I'm really proud of the way it came together in studio too, because it was primarily we added a lot of little musical touches that I think just really beefed up the important parts and filled in and just really kind of made it cohere as the song that I think that it should be presented as.
Yeah,
So
I was gonna
I was really pleased with how it all came together in studio too.
Yeah, I was going to add one last thought on that thing is that, having, lived with Jeff and known him for a while, generally I've heard songs he's written been kind of these always single sort of acoustic guitar type songs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of, I like the layers, sort of almost the military style sounding beat of the
Yeah.
drum. And then just the few
Mhm.
guitar licks that kind of added just a little bit to what is otherwise still more of an acoustic song still in it.
Yeah, when a show came in with that marching
the-
style drum was really
Yeah.
really strong too.
I didn't want to tie it back in that, not everyone, obviously, most parents will not have an LGBTQ child, but I think most parents will go through the more I think about it, the more there is some universality in it, because most parents will go through a period of time where they just don't understand their child at all.
Right.
Like
Mhm.
there will be, something that their teenager does or some thing that they'll adopt, some way that they will, group that they'll be a part of, etc., where the parent will just be like, man, I don't understand any of this shit. And like,
It's very
Yep.
true.
whether it's, like joining the theater club or what have you, or like becoming a cheerleader, or challenging the existence of a gender binary.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're gonna have that moment where your child is growing up and adopting things that are part of a culture that you do not understand as a adult in that particular time and place. And your job as a parent is to somehow figure out a way to be okay with that. So
Yep.
and that is really the centerpiece of the emotional center of that song, specifically relating to LGBTQ issues, obviously, but that can be expanded to any sort of cultural differences between parents and kids. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Makes total sense.
It's just as easy for a child who, for example, decides to break from their parents' religion or
Right.
any number of things. I think
Yeah.
there is very much, even though it does deal with a specific circumstance, I think there's a universality to the song that is very powerful.
For sure. For sure. I will say the last thing I think I want to say about this song is I know for this particular song, it was really important to get the recording just right. Just because of the sentiment, the emotionality, and the intensity of the song and the
Absolutely.
lyrics. The last thing we wanted to do was overwhelm the vocals, but we also didn't want to leave it so stark and empty. We wanted to make it have kind of a depth to it, but also you walk away feeling like there's a bit of hope to it. And I think we captured that with the way we ended up recording the song. But I will say that was the song of all the ones we worked on for this record. That was the one I probably spent the most time worrying about and thinking about how to get all the different parts working together. And that was probably the one I spent probably the most time on the drums, just trying to get those drum parts as
No.
tight as possible for that particular song.
And ironically, probably the one we spent the least overall time mixing, because we focused so much on nailing it in studio.
Yep.
It's as someone who's got a wife who works with LGBTQ plus kids on a regular basis in a state that is continuously trying to almost feels persecution, almost feels like a persecution. That song means a lot to me, and I applaud you guys for taking the care with it, and I trust that those words will resonate to people well outside of just the scope of the people on this call.
I certainly hope so, but it's such an important song. Again, like I said before, I cannot imagine this record without that song. I think, like Mike had said, that is the song that opened us up to actually working on the more serious and heavy side of parenting, because it isn't just fun and games. There's a lot that goes in there and a lot that challenges us mentally, physically, and emotionally. And this was just that song. I think was just a great bit of catharsis for us to kind of expand our repertoire.
Yeah, it was an emotionally draining a vocal thing to do in the studio. I think Sho can attest to the
Yep.
fact that I was kind of like sobbing in a corner afterwards.
Yeah, at the end of that recording, I think Jeff needed a good half an hour just to himself, and while Mike and I
Yeah.
worked on other aspects of the song. But it was an intense process for that particular song. But I would say I think that's probably one of our most successful straight out recording that we have done. All the other songs had to do a bunch of mixing and messing around with, but that song, I think that Purple and Yellow came out almost as close as we could expect it to come out with minimal fixes afterwards.
That's awesome.
There is no way transitioning from that to Cheese with That Wine is
That-
not going to be awkward.
You're taking my segue, sir, because like you go from that to Cheese with That Wine, like
So,
just damn.
Hey, you know what? Yeah, after a heavy moment, you got to have a light moment.
yeah. So Cheese with That Wine was actually probably the first song that I put together for
The Dadicorns.
and it was actually a couple of days after I threw the idea out to the guys, and I just had this idea of, for me, dad jokes, puns. So it's like it just made sense that we'd have at least one song that was kind of ridiculous. And so I had this whole thing about, my girls, they're great kids. They whine like every kid does. And in my head, I've always had this statement of, do you want some cheese with that wine? And the song just birthed from there. And I would say from that first line, do you want, would you like some cheese with that wine? The song wrote itself probably within 30 minutes. I had all the lines figured out. I had the puns. I had backup I had the whole thing put together and figured out. And then the guitar part, I played like 3 or 4 different guitar parts, and I was like, wait, this one works. And I just ran with it. And there's a whole bunch of cheese puns in there, which made me giggle incessantly because I just love puns, as do all of us. But it was just one of those fun songs that we just had to throw out there, and it's all about your kids whining and being the snarky parent of like, you're whining, here's some cheese. And it just came together. And I would say the idea of putting it right after Purple and Yellow was exactly what Jeff said. It's such an intense song. You can't go to anything really intense because it's just too much. You just have to do something lighthearted. It's kind of like you've had an exhausting day. You're frustrated. You've done everything you can do as a parent, and at the end of the day, all you can do sometimes is just laugh because you're just like, it's ridiculous how much we have to put in. And that was kind of that transition from Purple and Yellow to Cheese with That Wine. It was just that moment of, all right, I give up. I can't be any more emotionally charged. I'm just going to laugh about this because it's just ridiculous.
There actually is, interestingly, I always have a vague connection between these two songs because when I got to high school, one of the first assignments we had was like to write an essay and then critique each other's essay. And we got the critique back. The first line of the critique we got back was, "Would you like some cheese with that wine?" The person who wrote that would later come out as a trans woman. So it's Jane Natoli.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Him.
As soon as you said that, I knew who it was.
Yeah. I can even see the script in my
See, I never knew her in college, but I knew. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or in high school, I mean.
Fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew
hung
them
out
in
with
high
her a little
school,
bit more in
and
high school. So
yeah.
So there's a vague connection there, right? Like, so like, I always associate that phrase with a trans woman now. So like, it's kind of maybe makes more sense in my brain then. All right, cool.
I think the other thing about that song, and I will say when I first proposed this project, I had this fear of, we're gonna stick with this for like a week or two or a month or two, and it's just gonna fitter away because we've got lives, we're all super busy, we got stuff going on. But then I brought out that song, and the guys just got in there like, wait, this sounds fun, this is good. And I feel like, at least in my head, it kind of birthed the idea that we can actually write decent music that's
Yeah.
fun and energetic, but also just about our experiences being parents. And it's one that's universal. I mean, every parent has kids who whine from time to time. So it just felt like it was a fortuitous start to a really fun project.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we move from there to a song that might be mistitled because the next song probably should be titled Earworm. So, Mike,
You have no idea.
This song has been stuck in my head for a while. Talk us through this a little bit.
Actually, maybe I should take this one for
Ben.
the
Yeah,
start.
Ben.
Oh,
Yeah,
Ben,
Ben.
I'm
You
sorry.
start
Ben is
with this
leading
one.
this one.
This one is my contribution. I mean, still, it was a collaborative thing, but so basically, the chorus, "Whoa, whoa," the song is stuck in my head, has existed in some form for almost 20 years now.
Yep.
Like I had an ambition. It was, look at Mbop. Look how that gets stuck in your head. Look how much people hate you for it. Look at everything is awesome. Look how much people hate you for it. That was my ambition. I'm going to be that guy.
And Ben, just for those who are listening, if you go to the
Dadicorns
YouTube channel, we
Yep.
have the video of us singing the chorus of this song from 20 years ago. It is
When
Oh
we
my God,
originally came
really?
up with it
right
Yes.
on
And-
a road trip.
on a road trip back to Virginia.
But what I
Yeah.
so I had this perfect earworm of a chorus and nothing to tie it to. Like I had I had different lyrics and stuff. And then when
the Dadicorns
this came together, I suddenly had the basis for something to include it with, and it's
Yep.
how annoyingly catchy Disney songs are. So that merged when I asked the guys to start like just throwing out Disney songs at me like and like the obvious ones that begin with are Let It Go from Frozen, and We Don't Talk About Bruno from Encanto, because those are the ones that all our kids would be singing incessantly
Mhm.
in recent years. And so my kids don't talk about Bruno and they won't let it go. And from that, like the ambition became to throw in as many Disney references as possible. And
We got quite a few in there.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then Ashok punched it up.
Including Chicken Little.
Shooting
Of all things.
I mean, you kind of got rid of my Hakuna Matata reference to include Chicken Little, but I forgive you.
I appreciate that. Only because I do have a soft spot for Hakuna Matata. I like that song, and Chicken Little, who cares?
Fair enough. But
But it worked better melodically with the song. I think that's really what was the ultimate sacrifice. But yeah.
Yeah. But so I think yes, I always just wanted to have an earworm, a super catchy thing that, like I said, in the lines of Mbop, where everything is awesome. And I think I threw out sort of the first draft of it there, and tried to include as many Disney references. Ashok punched it up with even more references, and then everybody started like having ideas for how to make this even more catchy. Hand claps make things catchy.
Right.
Acapella makes things catchy.
Yes.
Right.
We threw out
Throwing in "It's a Small World" harmony.
Yes.
That
I
makes
have
it
to share
evil.
this story because
So-
that was part
Yeah,
of the
share that.
point. But so we were playing around with this song, and we were messing around with it, and I was listening to it a couple of times just to kind of get a feel for like what we had as a demo, and out of the blue, I just started singing the "It's a Small World" bit, and I was like, "Holy shit, this actually fits this part of the song." And then so the group of us had a meeting, and I played the song and I sang it for them, and everyone was like, "No." And I was like, we have to do this.
Yeah.
Now I do have a tie to "It's a Small World." When I was 7 or 8, I can't remember exactly how old, we went to Disney World in Florida, and we were on the "It's a Small World." It was myself, my dad, and we were on the ride. The ride track broke down.
Yep.
So we were stuck on "It's a Small World," and it kept playing.
Oh yeah,
And
they
we
don't
could
stop
not. They would not. We could not get off the ride. Remember, "It's a Small World" at like 6 inches of water. You can walk out of there. They would not let us get out of the boat, and they would not stop the music.
You're like the third person who's told me that too.
I've heard several people. Yeah.
So there's
You speak somewhat common.
there is a story out there of someone who sued Disney World. A paraplegic man got left in there for something like 6 hours and sued Disney for emotional distress.
That's
Oh
funny.
God.
As rightly
Yeah.
they should. But yeah, so I
Absolutely.
was stuck on that ride for a good 2 hours, and I will say I did not go on that ride again for over 20 years. And then we took our girls, after they were born, we took them to Disneyland, and that was the first time I had ridden that ride since I was 7 or 8. So it's probably closer to 30 years that I hadn't ridden
The
that
the
ride.
advantage of the Small World ride is it's air conditioned. Okay.
That is true. That is
That's
true.
true. That is true.
Ashoka, it helps I have it on pretty good authority, by which I mean my wife, that the Disneyland version of It's a Small World is actually far superior to the Disney World version of It's a Small World.
Either way, it is not a ride I wish to get stuck on again for 2.5 hours.
No,
Ever.
totally
I'm with you.
understand. But we had so many fun little flourishes that we added to that song.
Yeah, this was a lot of just let's throw that in.
I love that we decided to just randomly auto-tune my voice toward the end, to just add that little extra bit of annoyance right towards the end. Like, what?
Yeah, like
And that was all Dick's idea. He goes, "You're trying to make an annoying song. What's the only way we can make this more annoying? Let's do some auto-tune on his
Right.
voice."
the fact that Dick was so game for this.
Yeah, it really was that little extra fuck you to that song.
Yeah, it was beautiful. That was another one that there were so many little things that we kind of came up with in studio that really enhanced that song just a little bit.
One of the funny things I had about this song was that the Zoom meeting where we were largely working on putting this song together
Yeah.
happened to coincide with a booth that my wife had at Clouds Brewing up here in
I was gonna say, weren't you
North
sitting by
Raleigh.
a tree when you came up with the riff?
Right,
Yep.
yeah. And so I had brought my guitar along because I was like, well, I got to meet with the guys, and I'll watch the kid, except for during this period of time when I was going to go out and meet with the guys to do the song, and during that time, my daughter would be with my mother-in-law and would be able to walk around the festival. And so I kind of snuck around away, by this tree along this access road in this industrial park in North Raleigh. And yeah, I'm just kind of like sitting there strumming my guitar for whoever the fuck is walking by at that particular point in time. Just having my phone sitting there in front of me, coming up with various ideas for how to move from, I think we had already had the chorus riff at that time. So like, how do we, put together a verse riff that makes sense and that moves the song forward from this to that? And it ended up working out okay, but it was still just kind of funny that I'm just like a refugee from this random festival playing guitar by a tree.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like that's somehow
writing
a
a
metaphor
song
for
with
dads
people in
everywhere.
Alabama and Washington State and Georgia.
Yeah. One final tidbit about this song though that I do love is when we recorded this in the recording studio the first time when we recorded this, at the very end, like after he cuts the recording, Dick at Osceola just goes, "Fuck guys, you didn't tell me you were gonna do that." He's like, "I hate you and I hope you get sued."
At the same part, there was a little bit of pride because like this song is going to be fucking hilarious.
Oh, he did actually genuinely enjoy it, but he was just really funny about it.
And he's convinced that, and probably still is convinced that Disney is going to sue us over it.
Right.
So, before we get to our last song on the EP, there was some confusion earlier regarding the order of the songs on YouTube Music versus what the order of the songs actually are. So Mike was kind enough to send me a screenshot. Mike, what song were you listening to when you sent me that screenshot?
What song was I listening to when I see a screenshot?
Tim McGraw by Taylor Swift.
Yeah, so actually no, that's no.
What? Hang on. Tim McGraw is also an artist.
So here's
That's
the
her
thing.
first song, her first hit.
That actually is the first song off of her first album.
Yep.
Oh.
I'm the first person to tell you I have not historically been a Taylor Swift fan, but I like a lot of stuff that I've heard from her, and I know a lot of people that really, really appreciate her music. And so recently I've actually been going back and listening to her entire discography. And I'm actually through 3 albums now, which is mostly basically through her country albums. And then we're going to get into the pop phase. But yeah, I actually just finished listening to Speak Now this afternoon, and then it basically Spotify's little algorithm defaulted me back to Tim McGraw, which is the first track off her first album. And I feel no shame because I have actually, through that journey already, without even getting to her more like, poppier stuff, has given me a lot of appreciation for her as an artist. And I feel no shame. And so fuck you, Chris Ligori, for judging me.
It wasn't necessarily judgment. It
No,
was
I know.
more absolute shock.
I know.
I've got like old
Dadicorns.
the connection to it. Like when our firstborn was born was around the time that she was like going full pop, and when we were trying to rock the kid to sleep, or when he was feeding, we would like pass the time, like, when I had like a month off of from work before going back, we would like pass that time like playing Taylor Swift videos. So we saw like
Yeah.
all of her songs through about 2014, like Taylor Swift videos. So yeah, no judgment.
Hey, as a
Yeah.
parent, you do whatever you can to get through the day.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, but I will say this just to restore a little bit of my street cred. I've recently been going back through 3 discographies. The other, in addition to Taylor Swift, the other 2 have been The Cure and Guided by Voices. So I'm definitely all over the place recently.
Mike, let's be fair. You never had street cred. We're good.
It's 100% true. And speaking of not having street cred,
As one member of our band once said, dignity is overrated.
it's a good point.
Well, with that being said, the last song, The Sky and the Rose. Who wants to kick us off here?
I will own that one so this is a song that I actually had the guitar riff for this song probably about 15 years ago. I had this little guitar bit that I loved to play, and I never could figure out what I wanted to do with it. I played it for the guys, and I was like, "This is something I really like. I don't know what to do with it." So that's been for a long time. Been like my guitar practice starter. I just pick that up, play that for a few times to kind of warm my hands up, and then start playing the guitar. And we were thinking about the album, and it's like we've got all these great poppy, bouncy, fun songs, but at the end of the day, you got to put your kids to bed. You need something to calm them down. And so my thought was, all right, let's do a lullaby. And so this particular song I wrote as a lullaby to my girls. And the sentiment behind it is, and I was thinking, when a kid goes to sleep, especially, and I thought of this a lot when I was little, like I would always ask myself, I fall asleep, where am I going? Where did I end up? And it's that whole like your consciousness goes away, and it's like, where do you go? And so part of that as a parent, it's you'd sit with your kid, you'd watch them fall asleep, and you're like, I don't know where you're going, but I will be right here when you wake up. And that's where that line in the song came from. It's just that notion of you're going to travel, you're going to hit your dreams, you're going to do all these things, whether they're fantastical or horrific, because nightmares and whatnot. But when you come back, when you wake up and you're awake, I'll be right there to pick you up for the next day and get us started. And so this song kind of organically came together over time, and I wrote lyrics. I kind of messed around with it for a while, and then I suddenly realized that this guitar riff I wrote actually fit it really well. And so I started futzing with it and messing around with it, and eventually it kind of came together as a track. And then I put a little bridge in the middle to add a little variety and spice to it. But I will say the one thing about this song, it is my older daughter's favorite track on the album. She frequently asks me to play it or to play it for her when she wants to go to bed. She loves this song. So it's just one of those things where the song came together and it kind of tied up the album really nicely in that, we've seen the ups and downs of parenting with, the frustration and cleanup, the ridiculousness that we had in this song, the frustration and kind of like, oh my God, of cheese with that wine, the emotionality that we had with Purple and Yellow. And we wrapped it up with this calming, it's the end of the day and you're so cute when you sleep and we're here for you no matter what. So it's just, it kind of organically closes out the album and really ties it together and then gets us ready for the next day.
Yep. And it's also the other song that we get to all come back together and sing together.
Yep. It is also the song where we made our attempt and failed miserably at being Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Yeah, this is where we need some rehearsals beforehand to
Yes.
to get this down. 2-day recording time is tough for anyone who's ever been in the studio and recorded music, it takes a lot longer than you think it does to put together a song. A lot longer. 6 songs was pretty ambitious, and I think we did well with the songs that we had. But yeah, there's definitely some things where we're just kind of like seeing what feels right. I'm just gonna guess at some notes here.
Yep.
Yep.
This is the right note.
You know, what is a pitch exactly?
Yeah, it's what the pitcher throws towards the batter, right?
am a firm believer that at the end of your life, you want to have something you can leave behind as a little bit of a legacy, something you can be genuinely proud of. For me, I really hope it's the show.
Yeah.
For the four of you,
Definitely.
though, I know for a fact you can leave and be very proud of the work that you did here. I love the album. I do. I think it's phenomenal. I can literally say I laugh and I cried listening to it, which is something that I can't say for a whole lot of art out there. You know, usually art will take you to one place or another. It's an either or. Y'all managed to land both. If our listeners haven't listened to the album, I promise you're gonna laugh. And if you don't cry in purple and yellow, damn it,
Oh,
Jeff.
thanks, man. We appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks.
But we've gone through the entire EP. We know there's some more stuff coming down the pipeline because Ashok was kind enough to kind of let us in on that during the actual live episode.
Yep.
But I'm looking forward to what comes next. I really am. But let's I want to
So
give
are
you all
we.
a shot to kind of tell our listeners once again where they can find it, and tell me what of the stuff that's on there. What's the thing you're most proud of?
I would say the one thing I think I'm most proud of is the fact that we thought of this as a theme of parenthood, and we found ways to bring out the humor, the sadness, the frustration, all the different aspects of parenthood, and we kind of condensed it into a 20-minute 6-song EP. So it's not all, candy coated sugar fun, and it's not all dour down. It's really all the ups and downs of parenting. And I think the most important part is it's stuff that's true to life for each of us. We bring a little bit of our home lives, a little bit of our kids, a little bit of our parenting styles into each of the songs because it's just stuff that we've all done. And I think the other piece that's really important, or at least that I think is really cool about it, is that this stuff is universal. I think every parent out there can relate to at least one of the songs on there, if not multiple songs on there, or parts of all the different songs, just because of the way these songs came together and the way the lyrics were written. It isn't so specific that it's like I don't have any way to relate to that.
Ben, what about you?
I mean, I'm just proud to be part of a rock band, considering I've got no musical talent, no singing voice, and I actually don't know what a pitch is or a key. So I'm very, I'm happy and very grateful that I've got awesome friends who let me be part of the rock band, despite all that, and be a part of the collaborative process. And yeah, I'm glad that we've got something that we can sort of offer to the world. I'm excited for everybody to hear it.
Jeff.
What I'm proud of, I think, is it's unclear to me how much the four of us would really have in terms of an ongoing conversation if it weren't for the existence of this band and our continuing shared creative process. Because through this shared creative process, we'll talk about a song, but we'll also talk about like the shit that our kid did that pissed us off, or the way that the thing that we're just like really frustrated by, or like the thing that we're really worried by and concerned about, and the stuff that we're dealing with as parents who all have different and unique challenges but still somewhat universal ones. uh it's kind of a thing where parents in general, but dads, men especially, kind of get isolated in a way with the things that we deal with, where we kind of, a lot of us want to deal with it on our own. We think we need to deal with it on our own. And I think having this as not just a band, but a support group among the four of us.
Mhm.
Definitely.
That has brought us together in this kind of shared endeavor of parenting. It's our village, our what we fall back on. That to me, I guess, is the thing I'm most happy about with the ongoing project here, is how we've all been able to keep a a friendship and a relationship going with this project. And I hope it
I would,
continues as long as it can.
I would also add, Jeff, I think it also helps each of us get a little perspective because we all get pigeonholed and stuck in a thing, and we can bounce it out
Yeah.
on us chatting with each
Mhm.
other and be like, oh yeah, it's not that big a deal, or oh I need to address it, but I know it's not the end of the world. And I will say, like, I feel like this project has brought the four of us together in a way that I don't think anything else could have. And I think this shows the power and intensity of parenthood, and how parenting with a village, with a group of friends and people you trust and inherently love, how that makes this journey, as amazing and beautiful and horrific and challenging as it is, how it makes it possible just to get through it together and kind of come out the other side a little better, a little wiser than we were going in.
Very well said. Mike, over to you.
That was very well said. I don't know that I have a whole lot to add beyond what Jeff said, because I think that was 100% what I was thinking as well, in terms of just by sharing these experiences in song. I think that's the power of music in general, is that music encapsulates shared experiences and shared emotions without necessarily it gives you that opportunity to kind of be open and vulnerable without sometimes necessarily even realizing you're doing it within that context, which especially for some of us, myself certainly, being a prime example of that, isn't necessarily always the easiest thing. But the other thing that I think that I absolutely love about just having this album is that my kids will periodically request songs from it, and like that there's something just super cool about, I mean, before we launched the album, I'd go to my phone and I'd be like, they'd ask me, oh, can you play the such and such song? So I'd go to my phone and play it. And now I can go to Spotify, where I have our band saved, and I could just be like, click click, and it's playing on Spotify for my kids, when they request it. And there's just something really cool about that. Like, it's a very small footprint in a very large digital world, but just knowing that it's out there, and that, romanticizing the notion that, somebody out there might come across one of these songs, and have it just hit them in the right place at the right moment, and just give them that little extra, you know, pick me up that they need, during the day or whatever. It's really cool just having something out there that somebody might happen upon, and it might give them, you know, that's the pop music dream, right? That little 3 to 3.5 minute jolt of joy. It's just that's a great thing to even think that there's a possibility that I could be a part of that for some, that we could be a part of that for some infinitesimal amount of time for somebody.
Well, it's been a hell of a journey to get here. Y'all have now heard the VH1 behind the music version of
The Dadicorns.
DP. Go check it out. Check the show notes. Mike, you're editing this. Good luck, my friend. But
Indeed.
I'm sure he'll drop the link in the show notes. Anywhere you
Yes.
get music, it's there. I might recommend Bandcamp. That way you can throw some money back towards the artist that put this together. But more to come from the
Dadicorns.
I promise you, if you've listened to me, you guys have been listening to me for what, 5 years now? My God, what's wrong with you people?
Yeah, seriously.
You're
It's been a
going
long
to
time.
enjoy it, though. Listen, for Ben, for Mike, for Ashok, for Jeff, I have been Chris. Thank you for tuning in to this bonus episode of the Pub Trivia Experience. We'll be back Sunday night, Monday morning with a new episode. Until then, have a good one.